Welcome to the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I want you to do me a big favor before you check out this clip. I want you to hit the like button. I want you to throw in a comment and make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. And then I want you to share this video with your friends. Help us defeat the algorithm. And then if you like this content and you appreciate this content, please head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD Show and support the show. That is how we actually get funded to be able to do this. So we thank you very much for being here. And now enjoy the clip. All right, so let's go to WWE Netflix. We're gonna hit the highlights on this one too. Is this still a deal? after today, I don't know. Did the ink dry on that? Yeah, probably. But the WWE Netflix deal starting in January 2025. Raw in the U.S. Is moving to Netflix, and it's going to air live in the U.S., U.K., Canada, Latin America, and other international markets. So for those of you that have been watching on like Sportsnet in Canada and TNT Sports in the U.K., all that is moving over to Netflix come January 2025. And Netflix deal represents around a 30% raise. Now, people think it's a 50% raise because of the U.S. rights fee, but it's a 30% raise because this is taking over all these other international markets that are encompassing this stuff. So it's not that big 50% raise that they were thinking, but it's still 30% is still $500 million a year, which is insanity. So Thurston says, this is coming from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics. It's absolutely the wrong analysis to look at the $500 million deal and divide it by Raw's reported current average of $265 million. There's a bucket of international rights that the deal is superseding. Netflix would also at that point begin to air SmackDown, NXT, and all other major PLE events outside the U.S. In around 5 years, Netflix would have a good shot at becoming the U.S. home for all programming, which is really interesting. And then as far as like how's Netflix doing right now? Well, they're doing pretty dang good, I guess. They got the U.S. Netflix subs. They're about between U.S. and Canada are 80.1 million, and then internationally it's like a couple 100 million. So, yeah. So there's that story, and then of course Raw in the fourth quarter is pulling a TNA. Of all things, like they've copied TNA in the past, like Eli Drake and AJ Styles are at the Rumble this year for the world title, but now they're not gonna do shows for the fourth quarter, I guess. So right now they don't have a home for Raw from October into January, which is kind of wild. I'm sure they'll end up on YouTube or something or somewhere, but yeah, man, Raw to Netflix, that's a huge deal.
Big story. I find it interesting that it dropped this week. My conspiracy theory hat was on for that.
I don't think you're outside the lines on that one. I think maybe they rushed the deal because they knew the story was coming out, or maybe the Wall Street Journal was like, okay, hold on, we know this story's coming out, let's wait for it. I think there could have been some synergy there.
There's some synergy,
not synergy, but some it seems like like too much of a coincidence.
I got a hunch that the deal was pushed quick because they knew the story was going to drop and they wanted to boost the stock before an inevitable decline. Personal opinion, can't prove it. Conspiracy. Yeah. Mike and I are both susceptible to different levels of conspiracies. Here's what's interesting. It's a 5-year deal. It's not a 10-year deal. Netflix has a chance has an option to opt out in 5 years, which means it's a 5-year deal. Just like every WWE contract's a 90-day contract. Like, so they can opt out for back in for another 10 years. So it's really a 15-year deal, not a 20-year deal. Here's what's crazy.
Dave said last night they could actually go all the way up to 20 years. Actually,
Dave so they can keep. I thought he said they could be 15.
I think so. After 5 years, after 5 years. Well, after 5 years, they could go to 10, and then they said they can go to another 10. I don't know. That's a little confusing to me. Well, maybe we'll look more into that.
It is super confusing. What's interesting though is they've really locked themselves into what the value is, and who knows what. And this is Dave too said this. Who knows what inflation is going to do to the price of these things in a decade plus, right? So
yeah, I think Endeavor smells the sports rights bubble bursting soon, and knowing that this is probably, and they also see where television's heading, and I don't disagree with them. Television's heading to streaming, and Netflix adding a live TV component to their platform is going to make them probably back up there as the top streamer in the world again, if they're not already.
They are. Yeah. They never lost it. They've always been.
Okay. For some reason I thought Disney Plus had surpassed them, but I guess not.
No, Netflix still has the lead in everybody. It's interesting though because you're not going to get those. Like It's like, no, you know where you're getting paid. It's like having a salary. Like, you know, your
Yeah.
check's coming, you know it's going to be valued, but you're not going to get a big boost. So I mean, they've been used to every 5 years getting a big boost, getting a big boost, getting a big boost. For almost 2 decades, they've locked themselves into no big boost.
Yeah,
Although I imagine,
I think they
no,
get a big boost once the Peacock deal ends, and then once the
yeah, that's what I was
SmackDown
going to
rights
say.
end. Yeah, yeah. So I think they'll get more money from Netflix for those once those end.
But we got to see kind of where it's at. Like,
Yeah.
it's going to be very interesting. I think it's a great deal, to be honest. Like, it's not like they sold it really well. Like, oh, $5 billion deal. And it's like, oh, you break it down. It's like, okay, it's not quite as crazy as you think it is, but it makes sense. It's a lot of money for the company. It's good. It's good for their exposure. They're everywhere right now. Peacock,
Yeah.
Netflix. Yeah, like, see, it's all over the place. I imagine that gets consolidated eventually, probably to Netflix in the next couple
Yeah.
years. Hopefully this ends ratings debates. You know, like, I hope
Yeah.
this ushers in a new glorious utopia where we don't talk about ratings all the time.
Well, we'll find a different way to talk about it, because right now I think not Nielsen, but somebody's tracking Netflix views
Yeah, but
and
Netflix Live.
minutes watched. I know that they have like minutes watched, and because I was actually looking into it because I don't know why I was reading this article recently, but the Rock's movie Red Notice that came out on Netflix, I thought was a pretty good movie, was like the most watched. And the way they broke it down is it had the most minutes watched. And I'm like, how was that not The Irishman? Because that had the most minutes of any movie in history. And if you watch it one time, you got to break records there. So,
Fair.
sorry, I thought that joke was going to land better.
You know, it's we that's the part about having humor is you got to make a lot of jokes. They don't all land, but that's okay. You go back
Yeah.
and you try again. Um,
Yeah.
like when Stranger Things came on, they had press release saying 8 bazillion people watched Stranger Things, and it's like, well, it's not.
Yeah.
You don't have that many subscribers, but I mean, like,
Right.
so Netflix, they don't have like the oversight of a Nielsen really to tell them, you know. So I mean, like, it's actually a really good deal for WWE because they don't have to like they don't have to stress on who's watching what. I mean, I imagine there'll be some internal debate, but there won't be a, as of right now, maybe this could change in a year or so down the line, but there won't be a ton of media or online discourse about who's watching Raw. And, you know, Netflix is going to figure out this live sports thing. I mean, I've still have the mind that we will see an implosion of the streamers within the next, I said this 5 years ago in Superhero Speak, that we'll see an implosion
Yeah.
of the streamers and Netflix will be the one to last because they've been in the game the longest. And they didn't
Yeah.
go crazy till now. Like, everybody was over the last 4 years, everybody's been super investing in building up their streaming, and Netflix just kind of laid back and just worried about original programming. Now, when everybody else is kind of starting to feel the pinch, now they're like, okay, now we go in on live sports. And Rich and Joe said something interesting too about Netflix artificially having raised the ceiling on these sports media rights to force everyone else to have to pony up. So that could
Mhm.
have been a game that they played too. I don't know. It's fascinating. It's weird though to say WWE only on Netflix. It's a weird thing. That's bizarre.
Yeah, but honestly, that's kind of whenever the WWE Network came out, and I was watching quite a bit of time. That was my dream. I was like, okay, like just have Raw, SmackDown, have everything just on, and all the PLEs all in one place. I think ultimately, eventually, that's where we get to, where everything's on Netflix, and I think we get there with AEW on HBO Max or
Max.
whatever
Yep.
it's called, Max. Yeah, because now with WWE kind of being locked in with Netflix and with USA and CW and Peacock, they're no longer negotiating with WBD. I think once WBD finishes up with these NBA rights deals, then they're going to go in on AEW, and I think AEW is probably going to get themselves a pretty good, television / streaming deal in the Warner Brother empire.
Yeah, they'll wind up being all right. I think I got the hunch that they were good with the WBD was good with EW when they put out that press release. Was it a week or two ago, touting
Yeah,
how great AEW's been for them? Like, okay, they must be cool now. But I didn't want to
yeah,
say that out loud because I didn't want to have to eat a lot of shit from the people on the show. So I'm like, I'll
yeah,
keep this and act like later, like, oh, I saw this coming. But I'll take my
yeah.
victory lap on this, even though I didn't stake a
King,
claim. King North
King of the
says,
North says,
as someone in Canada, everything is on Netflix. W Network gone. Sportsnet package gone on cable. Yeah, man,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is the new
So
world.
Yeah, so in the US, we still have it on certain cable channels, the USA, CW, and Peacock, but everywhere else, it's all just Netflix. And so I think eventually Netflix is just going to own everything in just about every territory. There are some territory like India wasn't a part of it because they're already locked in, but I think, once
Middle
that deal
East.
ends in India, Middle East, of course, in Japan, they're all locked in
Yeah.
with a Bima. So once
Mhm.
once they move off of a Bima, and it's funny, smaller scale, I know, but TNA currently has a similar deal with DAZN where they're all inclusive on DAZN in like 40 different territories or something like that. I think that's what you're going to see with WWE and Netflix starting, and it will be in the US probably by the end of in like the next 5 years. That's
Yeah.
where we'll be at.
Which is
Yeah.
fine. I'm sure they would rather have that. I know they like having their stuff all out all over our place right now, but I think that's got to be
Yeah.
hard to keep track of things. And I'm sure Endeavor
Yeah.
would like to have everything kind of in one spot soon, because it seems like Endeavor might have some fires to put out now. They've got
Yeah.
these media rights
Yeah.
figured out. Now we have
Well,
other
and I'm
things to
sure
attend to.
And I'm sure they don't want to have to fucking negotiate with like Uzbekistan state TV to get Raw on at like Tuesday mornings at 3 a.m. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's like, oh, if we can just get like one check from everybody, I think that would be the easiest way to go. And it's like, and I think it adds like more stability too with your
For
like
sure.
own market. You know what I mean? And plus, like Netflix is huge. Like, I think I'm
Yeah.
the only guy that doesn't have Netflix. My father-in-law canceled it last year. I'm like, well, fuck. But it's like expensive, so I'm not getting it right now.
Hey Matt, I know you're listening right now. I appreciate the password all these years. You're not got to worry because I'm not going to watch, so we'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I'm probably I'm gonna be done with my cable package soon. I'm gonna be canceling it again, so maybe I'll pick up Netflix when Stranger Things comes out again. But
I will get it when Stranger Things comes back because I got to know how it ends. I've been in this thing since
yeah,
2016. I need to see what happens to these kids. I'm far too
yeah.
invested.
The letter A says India deal will expire in December of 2026. Oh, okay, yeah.
Good
So
enough.
maybe by the end of then they'll probably be moving over to Netflix. Oh, sorry. And then Tactical Playmaker, I believe this is Nonzo. Is TNA making any money from DAZN? I
Think
have
so.
no idea.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
make it
yeah, I don't think they're getting it for free. So, and as JD Oliva likes to say, some money is better than no money. And so that's probably what they were getting before they had the DAZN deal. So, and
some money.
TGV says, yeah, in Australia, WWE is locked into Murdoch News controlled Foxtel until at least the end of 2027. All right. And then if you need cred, I am the snowman on Netflix. There you go. I don't know what that means. And then
Not even a little bit.
IO says Netflix is 5 minus paying extra for another watch screen. No, Netflix is fine minus paying extra for another watch screen. Yeah. So maybe me and a buddy will go in on that deal.